Okay, so you are a foreclosure investor or property investor. You're looking to buy a property, flip it, sell it to somebody else. And what about the hidden expense of holding time? This is Dave again at TitleSearch.com. As you can see from our sign, holding time or time value losses is a hidden expense in buying and selling property. So let's say you have a property, if you can flip it in a month versus 6 months, what is the advantage? Obviously, you want to flip it as soon as you can, but here's the hidden cost of doing that. First of all, the interest and holding cost. If you have a property that you have 1 month, you maybe pay 1 mortgage payment. If you have it for 6 months, you have to pay 5 extra payments. How much is that in interest? Even if you own the property for cash, having that money out of your asset stream where you can't buy other properties has the same amount of loss. Look, the interest rates right now are so low, even if it's 3% or 4%, you're probably making more money on your capital than what you're paying on interest. So even if you own it for cash, you might say, well, I'm not paying any money. Well, are you earning more than 4% on your investments? If you are, you're losing that money for that 5 months. So flip it as soon as you can. Number 2, tax accrual. Even if you're not paying the property tax each month, when you sell that property, there will be an accrual of that tax or a proration of that tax. Every month you've owned it, that tax is going to be deducted from your sale proceeds. So every month you have a tax accrual that's like a ticking time bomb. It's running off the clock. Number 2 is insurance. You obviously have to have homeowners insurance or property insurance on that investment property. You will get a refund, a prorated refund of what you don't use. If you paid the whole premium for the year, you only use it 6 months, you get the rest back. If you use it for 9 months, you don't get as much back. So insurance is running up the clock as well. You know, utilities may not seem like a big deal, but by the time you add up water, sewer, electric, you may not use a lot if you're not there, but that is also going to be an expense. May add $400 or $500 over the course of 5 months. $500, what could you do with that? You maybe could put in a nicer kitchen counter. Maybe you could put in nicer landscaping. That might help you sell the property. So every couple $100 that you spend is additional capital that you don't have to use on the next deal. Here's a couple things which are less tangible but maybe even more of a factor than the first 4. It's called Murphy's Law. You have exposure to liability the longer that property is in your hands. A property is a several $100,000 asset. The more that you own it, the longer you own it, the more things that can go wrong. Roof leaks, somebody falls in the sidewalk, contractor gets hurt, maybe there's some damage that's not discovered right away, but the longer you have it, something falls or breaks, or even the more you get into it, you're going to end up messing around with it a little bit more. Maybe you go back while it's still for sale and you're sweeping out the garage and you hit the wall and you find out that there's mold somewhere. So the longer you have it, the more exposure you have to liability and discovering more problems. And one other factor that people don't realize is when you have it on the market for a longer period of time, that affects the price. A property that sells quickly sells for higher value. So price it right to sell initially, and once that property's been purchased and in your name, the clock's ticking on what that market is like. The faster you get it on the market and get it sold, the better your price is going to be. A property gets stale on the MLS after a month or two where everybody in the market has seen it. All the realtors have seen it. Even if there's a new buyer that comes on the market in 3 months, all the realtors have seen it. They're not as excited about it as they were the first month they saw that house on the market. That will convey to the buyer's psychology, and they'll pick up on it. So that's another ticking time bomb of value losses. If you have some things that will require you to hold that property for some period of time, start those processes early. It may be you have to do a quiet title to clear out some liens. It may be you have to contact maybe a contractor to get rid of a mechanic's lien. Start that process from day 1. So if it takes a month or 2 to get rid of that, you're doing that early and it's concurrent with all of your other projects. Maybe it's restoration, maybe it's rehab, but doing it all at once so you don't get to the end, get a contract on your property and find out there's a lien and then have to spend another 2 months getting rid of it, doing all at once. There may be a redemption period if there's a tax lien or a foreclosure where the delinquent borrower or taxpayer has a right to buy the property back. That may hold you up a little bit, but you can minimize that as well. Get these concurrent projects all started at once at the beginning, so when they get done, you have a property that's saleable. You don't have to keep on the market any more than you have to. So interest, taxes, insurance, utilities, liability aren't adding up to take away from your profits. That's your livelihood.